Hi, this is a video just to address the recent comparison video that the Angry Photographer did comparing the Sony a7 III to the XH1. And if you watch the videos, he's made a few of them, he is really laying into the Sony a7 III. And interestingly, what he does is he uploads his files for us to examine. So here we have the Sony file, here we have the Fuji XH1, and then we've got some close-ups. Now interestingly, if you have a look at these close-ups, the Fuji is displaying way more detail than the Sony. Now this is not something that you can dispute at this point. So here we have the Fuji, and got a heck of a lot more detail here than over here on the Sony. And again here, the Fuji, you've got a lot more detail than over here, and you can see the settings are broadly the same. And yeah, that's it really, basically. And this is really very interesting, because what he's saying is per millimeter of the sensor, the Fuji has a lot more pixels, which is true, it does. However, they're both 24 megapixel sensors, so theoretically the resolution ought to be exactly the same. In actual fact, the Sony ought to have cleaner images. So why is it not the case? Well, the fact is the Angry Photographer is being a little bit disingenuous. If you look at the Sony image over here, and you go down, you can have a look at the EXIF data, and it says it's at 70 millimeters, which is at the extreme end of this zoom, and it's at f2.8. And with the Fuji, you've got 50 millimeters at f2.8, and it's not at the extreme end. Now, the reason why this makes a difference is at the extreme ends of a zoom, you actually lose sharpness. It's the most sharp kind of in the middle ranges. So the Fuji has a little bit of an advantage here. But even still, how can it be this much of a difference? It still seems that the Fuji has an edge. Well, what he's doing is kind of like a little bit of an illusion. If you look at the Sony, now at 70 millimeters, you've got this angle of view. At 50 millimeters for the Fuji, you've got this angle of view. And if you have a look, it's a lot more zoomed in. With the Sony, you can actually see the entire peacock feather over here. With the Fuji, it's cropped off, which means you're a lot more zoomed in. Now, the other reason why it's more zoomed in is 50 millimeters is actually on full frame equivalent. It's 75 millimeter, whereas the Sony, you don't have a crop factor because it is full frame. So 75 is closer than 70. So for that reason, you're gonna be a lot more zoomed in, and that would account for the actual difference that you're seeing. Now, if you want a proper scientific analysis of Fuji versus the Sony, you actually need to go to dpreview.com and look at the review, and they have this thing over here. And what you got to do, you got to make sure the ISO is the same, which I've done, and you can move this little cursor anywhere. So let's have a look at here. Now, what DP Review do is they make sure that the framing is exactly the same for each one. So let's have a look. Fuji XH1 is over here, Sony is over here. And lo and behold, you've got a lot more detail on the Sony than you have the Fuji. Okay, maybe that bit might be a little bit of luck. Let's have a look over here. Now, have a look at this medium yellow. No one in their right mind would say that this is sharper than this one. Let's go down, let's have a look at more text. And again, it's a lot sharper on the Sony side. Look at this. I mean, it's kind of close, but look at the H here and the H there. The O here and the O there. You have more sharpness with the Sony. So, why is this guy making these videos? Why is he bashing Sony so much? Well, it's not a massive secret that this guy is a huge full-on Sony hater, particularly when he's just had a massive falling out with his previous friend Lania, whatever his name was. So he's never really liked Sony, but what makes him dangerous is he's got quite a big following. He always uses big words, and he's always going on about empirical data and hardcore facts. Well, I've just disproved his very simple experiment on this. So he's not really that much of a scientist. He just full on hates Sony. Now, do I have any other evidence besides his poor techniques when it comes to presenting evidence? Well, yes, if you go to this video and you click to 14:55, let's just do that right now, 14 minutes 55, he actually says that there's no option for a vertical grip. So let's just get this bit here. No option for a vertical grip, when clearly you just got to Google it and you'll find this thing is available for the Sony a7 III. So I don't know, he's just got a massive problem. He's been a plagiarist before. Apparently he's a horrible friend. I mean, I don't know, I wouldn't want to befriend this guy. He's just peddling Fuji, and that's it. Furthermore, if you actually write some comments down here which obviously show him up in a bad light, he deletes it. He doesn't even bother trying to explain why it is, like where I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. But he can't do that, so what he does is he deletes those comments. And he just has some followers, and obviously his followers, they're not really, I don't know, you can't really call them critically minded. You can't take this man seriously. Like I say, if you want proper results, what you've got to do is you've got to go to dpreview.com, check out the actual review, compare the two cameras, and make your own decisions. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.